Your birds will come back.
Of course they'll come back. They're birds. I trust them. I understand them. It's people I don't understand. You see, Arnold, it's time for me to leave here.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pusher Media Podcast, episode 12 this week. Jesus, feels like just yesterday we started episode 1. But this week we've been trying to get this man for a while, the handsome devil to my right. My left, though, it's actually quite weird.
Pretty whacking it.
Yeah, that's ballsy. But it's none other than George Buffers Bray.
Okay, cringe compilation begins already. Love it. All right. Yes, hello. It's me.
What's going on, man?
Not a fat lot, to be honest. Playing Overwatch. Drove back up to Nottingham this morning after casting Val last night, and yeah, that was it. Big
So
chilling.
explain to the viewers who you are.
Who am I? I
What
am.
do you do?
I am
What have you done?
I am Europe's best amateur caster. No, for real. I'm a mostly play-by-play commentator for a variety of esports, including Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, optionally League of Legends, and a variety of other titles as well. Whenever opportunities become available. That's preliminary what I've been in the community, but I've been around the block. I've been a few different things. Obviously, I produce a lot of shows. I'm the lead host of Beyond the Call, which is obviously our four production studio that we run shows out for the amateur Call of Duty scene, considering his coverage isn't really good enough. And that's me at the moment. But from me, where I was is very far fetched. Well, very far removed from where I started.
Just read chat for a second, please.
Why you so? I thought Brody was on. Dutch mate looks like Sue Perkins, doesn't he? Outrageous.
Yeah, I love you too, Gage, bro. We'll start off with the obvious thing as to I think your first sort of steps formed in esports was Void Gaming.
Yeah, it wasn't actually my first steps in esports. There was a period of time which was before Void, which I actually did compete and played alongside
You
Nova.
competed.
Yeah, in Advanced Warfare. I played alongside Nova actually from the Radiant Nova.
No,
Yeah, we played together. He competed with us as well.
that's dark.
I started
Round it,
I started playing in
round.
Black Ops 2 mostly. I had a lot of fun playing it back then with people from ladders and stuff when I was just a little kid. Ghosts, I ended up playing with like personal mates, and that's where I met. Well, that's where I got in touch with Nathan because we live in the same town, or at least we're from the same town. He went to my sister's school, and I knew some people who went there from middle school and stuff. So it kind of just ended up winding up us playing together with a couple of others. Competed on GVs, did some tournaments, CGLs, etc. Nothing really too hardcore, but mostly online. I got to Advanced Warfare, and that was pretty much where I just thought, "Fuck this! Playing isn't really working out for me. I'm not really getting anywhere with it. Um, not really. It's a complete waste of time." And this is the thing that I always tend to go to: is if like something's not working, and you really want to try and make something with it work, then on to something else. Like try the next best thing. And then the next best thing was opening an organization, Void Gaming, with Nova at the time. We actually opened the organization together, and we ended up having some differences about the organization as a whole. We spatted for quite a while. It got quite personal and all that kind of thing. We didn't really get on for probably about 2.5 years. I pretty much didn't speak through shade on the timeline constantly about each other's organizations. But that was at the point where he was like a constant target to kind of like motivate myself to work against when he was running Radiant as well. That's when Void was really having its heyday. And over the years, I kind of understanding esports organizations with Void, learn how to market a thing, how to tweet properly, how to be rational with money and that kind of thing with regards to funding teams and such. And we've had some success, limited success, and all that kind of business. But it was never something that I really wanted to never something that I could really commit a lot of resources to. So it never really got off the ground too much.
So when he left, then what was the next one to call? Was that when you got Nate in?
No, Nate is much more recent. There's a lot of people who have been in and out the doors of Void by my side over the years. The next point of call after Nova was actually a chap called Heavens, Taylor Ritchie, who is currently, I believe, a streamer for Retribution. He's been gone for a while and he's now back. Scottish chap, really nice guy. We got on really well. And he did a lot of hard work for us. But in time, his life got busy, mine got busy, and eventually we separated ways. And then the pretty much what I call the heyday of Void was when we had who was formerly back then Paradoxa, PK, now Dante, Overwatch player nowadays. But back then we worked on Void together, and that's what I call the heyday of it. We made content. Insomnia. We took a team to Birmingham one year. We had all sorts of things lined up. There was actually being money put in both sides, and that was actually probably the best time for it. We made a lot of progress in that time to where I would consider like organizations tend to be these days as like a startup point. Back then, it was pretty much just like you open a Twitter org and pay for them to be in some league. You have no branding, no merch, no contracts, etc. We were one of the first people, alongside like Radiant and a few other organizations, at around 1,000 followers, to really start doing that and trying to legitimize the business.
So what went wrong?
Just got bored of it. Got absolutely sick of it. I got sick to death of youth players torching my fucking cash. I actually got sick of it. I got sick of people wasting my time, wasting my money, having absolutely no respect for me or anything that I was doing. And as a result, it just completely killed all motivation for it. I generally kept it open as a passion project for a really long time with Nate after PK moved on. And after that, really, we kind of just kept it ticking over, and that's pretty much where it's been laid. And now it's been finally laid to rest, unofficially, but pretty much has officially been laid to rest. Neither of us want to put any money into it because we have no money to put into it, and neither of us have the time to dedicate to it as well either now, because I'm a busy boy with casting and he's a busy boy with all sorts of coverage that he does and his work and such. So
No, it's not always called Gage. It's just that banner. It's gonna be hard to understand for the stream.
Fucking dead. Orgoning, as Connor will attest to, is an extremely stressful experience with a lot of problems that come with it. It's also a huge cash burner. Like, you're just throwing money away for no reason when you're funding these. You have to kind of work on getting a profit back, and generally that kind of thing doesn't really happen. I don't really know what it is. Well, I do know what it is. It's just, there's no ROI in amateur esports at all. There's literally fucking none.
Yeah.
You can't profit from an esports organization for about 5 years. It's just a complete money pit, and if you don't have the money to keep putting into it, don't. And just honestly do something else that's way more profitable. There's a surplus of esports organizations these days, and I recognized that and thought, well, these people are doing it better than me. I can't possibly compete. There's absolutely no point in keeping this going. Like, it's just a completely lost cause. The only reason you carry it on is just because you love it, and that's the only thing. And I wasn't loving it, so there's no point.
Yeah, I understand it, but I think that's literally the same point as me. Just felt I love doing it, and it when you just start to see that money slowly pour out, and you see, well, you shouldn't look at it as in something has to come back. But in my point of view, I was like, well, I'm 22. I'm thinking this ain't making me money now. I'm wasting money. Yeah, it's a long term investment. I ain't got long term to do that, so I'm dipping. But moving on from Void, then. Let's talk about how you found your way into talking.
Talking, yes, talking,
Yes.
doing the talks.
Doing the talks over certain games.
Yes, actually, that started as a result of Void. In Black Ops 3, when everything moved over to PlayStation for the first time, the Xbox scene was kind of left at a bit of a dead end. A lot of people didn't really want to move over. A lot of people were kind of like, I'll move over next year because we still don't know if it's going to come back to Xbox, etc. So there was a scene there that was kind of sitting and lying in wait and having absolutely no support for it from online leagues or anything like that. So Void teamed up with an organization named Demonic, which is where I found a relationship with a guy called Carbon, Josh, who's been one of my good mates for the longest time now. And we started a league called the DVL. A lot of people remember this if they were around back in Black Ops 3 days. The DVL was pretty successful. It had no prize pool. It had nothing going for it except for the fact that it was 12 teams that were all qualified and every match would have been casted. That's where I started casting, really, just not out of actually having to having a reason to, out of necessity, because the stream needed a cast and I needed to be the one to do it because I didn't want to pay anyone else for it, so I might as well step up to the plate. And I'm theatre trained pretty well. I'm come from the home, well, pretty near the home of Shakespeare, and thespian theatre training is pretty prevalent, especially with the fact that I'm really into that kind of thing. I like theatre, I like acting and that kind of thing. So I learned a lot of theatre training techniques to project voice and how to appear on stage and on camera, etc. So casting was kind of a pretty logical step, all things considered. And as soon as I did it, I started to fall in love with it. I knew that I kind of had a natural knack for it. It's just something that needed to be cultivated. And in time I did, but sadly the DVL collapsed. due to some issues with like ethical rigging of some matches and shit from some people who were involved in the staff team who I should never have brought in. So my mistakes were made there on a managerial side of things. But at the end of the day, it wasn't my fault the whole league collapsed. As a result, though, I didn't really cast since from that point through to World War II. I finally decided, like, after a year in limbo, not really doing anything, kind of doing a little bit of Void on the side, thinking, right, okay, Black Ops 3 is done, Infinite Warfare is done, what do I do now? And I thought, I was good at casting Black Ops 3. I wanted to carry on doing it, but why didn't I? Well, so I went out straight away, bought a PS4 for like 100 quid off eBay, then slapped a World War II disc in it and just thought, right, who can I message? Val, EG, everybody on the case. And it was Esports Hub who first got me in, I think. I casted one final with Brody, and from that point forward, he didn't really want to cast with Assassin anymore. And we kind of, at that point, started working together pretty prolifically. And I would say that it is Val Season 1 where really everything started to pick up for me in the casting game.
In World War II.
World War II.
So, it's from Season 1 as well? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I did Val Season 1.
No, like, I didn't know it was from Season 1. No, I thought it was from, like, towards the end of World War or halfway through World War.
Right from the beginning of World War II.
Interesting. So what was so how did that come about? You know, you starting to cast with Brody. Was it like he just turned around and said, "Look, I don't want to cast with Daniel. I want you. I like you, etc."
Well,
Because like if you cast with him just once, because I don't even know this story, so I like this one.
yeah.
So if you just cast with him once, how did that like form from that?
Well, there was already some fractious relationships, I think, because there was a league at the time called Unity, which Dan was involved in a managerial position. The irony of this is going to start coming apparent now we know what Brody's doing these days. But Dan was like managerially involved in a league, and then that started to become like a problem. I can't remember the reason why. Probably like some sort of payment reason, some like streaming reason, but. Brody and Dan didn't seem to get on too much. They just casted together and everything was fine. Brody casted with Jip a few times, but that never really materialized into anything.
Only Jip.
Yeah, in Infinite Warfare. And then I came along in World War II and got thrown into a cast with Brody out of like no choice of my own in Esports Hub. And from that point forward, we started working together because I messaged him. I was like, yo, I really do want to be a caster this. I really want to give it a shot. We casted together. I thought things went really well for my first cast back in over a year. I thought I did pretty good, all things considered. And he was like, yeah, by all means, you did. And I think we can work together. And I think we can try and unify a flat rate that we can charge these tournament organizers. And I'd like to work with you to kind of produce a duo that can kind of take these by storm, really. That's exactly what we did. World War II, Val Season 1, we contacted, well, Brody was already being contacted by Val, and he put my name in the ring. As a result, I got in contact with them already. I've been in contact with them over the organization stuff before with Void, like about them with matches, buying tickets, etc. So I'm pretty familiar with the guys. And then I get in for commentating. At that point, we start casting matches. Things go really well. People are very receptive to my commentary because my style was very different to what's been happening with Dan and Brody for the last year. Dan is heavily analytical, very much a color caster, and Brody is a pretty by the book play-by-play. He calls it as it calls it as it is, calls it as it sees, creates a pretty constructed narrative, and all in all, I think is a fantastic caster. But my style is a little bit different. I like to use wordplay, metaphors, kind of creating a narrative around kind of like a kind of more how do I say external theme to what the game actually is. In the end, people seemed to gel with that style. People thought it was funny. People thought it was good. There was moments where people like were synonymous with a certain call over one of their plays, etc. in the league, and a lot of people were very happy with the way I was commentating. As a result, I'm sure you'll be familiar with this. Like in your first season, you're a breath of fresh air to the scene. Yeah. Everyone's like, "Yo, this fucking guy's sick. Get him on the CDL already, or whatever." And then like after that,
now we're dead.
Yeah, and now you get Val Season 1, everyone's loving it. Val Season 2, it's the fucking height of my height of my power. Everyone's like, God, this guy's such a good caster, love him, etc. And then like Val Season 3 season, I think we ended up doing something with Esports Universe where we didn't end up casting that season. And that's when we started to get contracted with them. Pretty shit decision, all things considered, on my part to actually allow myself to get my arm twisted into signing that ESPU exclusivity contract.
Can you talk on that? Oh.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no NDA on it now.
Yeah, I mean, I know the reason, but I'm not sure if you wanted to or not.
Yeah, it's fine. So the ESPU wanted to run the Project Genesis, was what it was called at the time, which was basically the ACL, and they
Yeah.
wanted to have us contracted from pretty much the end of World War II when they wanted to pilot it, or pilot at least a season of it, to go into the Black Ops 4 season. Obviously, we now remember the whole debacle that happened with Black Ops 4 season ESPU. There was like fucking prize pool reduction, sponsors pulling out, mismanagement, and then eventually the whole thing shuts down. We were signed to an exclusivity agreement because they thought that they were going to fucking wipe out the other leagues, and they'd given us this whole pitch, this big old spiel. Brody was sold. I was not as convinced by it, but ended up signing it anyway, and ended up I pretty much call it fucking the end of my season because never really materialized into being what I wanted it to. There was Val Season 1 and 2. I could have made loads more money by doing Val Season 1 and 2 of Black Ops 4. Oh, sorry, no, EEG Season 1 and 2 of Black Ops 4. But instead, I had to do the Spring and Summer Championships for ESPU. I think I got out the contract after the Spring Championship. So we ended up kind of getting on board with the but that ESPU, although it was good for the one season in spring where everything went really fucking smoothly and everyone was kind of like, or the winter one, sorry, everything went really fucking smoothly. Like there was great plays, that nasty 1v4 back to back with a 1v3, loads of sick stuff that happens with like drone squad, scripted gaming, all that kind of shit. Like great storylines throughout the course of that competition. Just wasn't able to be materialized into rest of the leagues. So I think we really lost out there. And then like you contrast that with what happened in Val Season 3 and EEG Season 3. I never casted EEG in World War II with Brody because they wouldn't pay us the correct amount. They were saying that they wanted to give us €2.50, which equates to like £2 for a series. And me and Brody
Well,
were
that wasn't even that back then. The euro to the pound these days in
I
World War
know.
Two.
In World War II, yeah.
That would have been like a quid.
Yeah, so we weren't getting it barely anything per series, and me and Brody were like, it's £5 or now. Like we're fucking not doing it for less, right? And even then, that's pretty reasonable wage considering as what professional casters get paid on a day rate. So we're sitting there thinking like £5 is like completely a bargain. You get production rolled in with that as well from me. Like it's in mind blowing that €2.50 was all they could budget. But Daniel Assassin, being the snaky bugger he was back then, decided that it was time to undercut and slide into those DMs to go for €2.50 and stream it on fucking Smashcast. Oh my god. I understand that Smashcast deal was great for EEG, but Jesus Christ, was it horrible for viewership. And then I remember the one worst thing is like EEG Season 3, me and Brody weren't allowed to commentate anything because we were in a contract with ESPU. And Dan casted a fucking final and it went to a second best of 5, and the second best of 5 didn't get streamed because Dan went to bed. I lost my head. I completely lost my head. I had to watch it on fucking stream from Cammy's perspective.
Is this World War Two?
Yeah.
I wasn't
EG
even
Season 3 in World War 2, mate.
Dude, I wasn't even about. Well, I was about, but I wasn't about in like.
It was a fucking disaster.
Oh jeez, I did not even know that.
Yeah, it was an absolute disaster.
I know one incident that I ain't gonna bring up, but I didn't know. I didn't know that.
There was obviously the whole thing in Val Season 2 as well when he was running the Bravo stream with Quinn when he went off to fucking after one series to go watch the Champions League final. Mate. This kid honestly just didn't want to fucking cast. He just didn't want.
So what was it in World War Two? It was you, Brody, and Daniel. Was there anyone else?
Quinn Diddley Diesel. Can you believe that he commentated?
Who's that?
Okay, he's not really relevant anymore, but back in the day, people would have known him. And
Okay.
All fairness to Quinn, like he's a really sound bloke, but fuck me, was he not a good caster?
You're coming for some throats, bro.
Like he and Dan were the duo on the Bravo side of things and doing EEG stuff. And like no discredit to Dan, if you put him alongside a really hype play-by-play like you or me, he'll probably do fine, or Brody. But like when it's just him leading the broadcast and he's banging on about fucking colour moments, and then Quinn chips in with like one sentence every 3 minutes. It's just the driest broadcast I've ever watched, and I really hope I never have to watch anything like it again. Like, I really don't. Like, not to discredit either of them, but together they were just an atrocious pairing. I do not want to see it again.
Jesus Christ.
It's just bad.
Jesus.
It's just bad.
Man, it's coming with
I've told them all this before as well. It's nothing new to these guys. They've heard me
Yeah.
say it to them, so it's like not me firing any shots.
So they're moving. Okay, so you mentioned earlier about the snaky business that you done going to EG behind your guys' back, I'm guessing, to undercut yours.
Yeah, did the same with Val as well. Got 2
How
euros
was-
for People Bravo.
How was your relationship after that?
Not very good. We didn't really get along with Dan too much after that, and then he packed it in when it came to Black Ops 4 because he didn't get in with the ACL, and Val wasn't around, and he wasn't really earned, seemingly. I don't really know what happened with EG in Season 1, because as far as I'm aware, I just didn't get streamed.
Black Ops 4 or Black Ops? Or
Black
World
Ops
War 2?
4. Black Ops 4. This is
You're
moving into
right.
Black Ops 4 now. Yeah, because
Yeah,
at the end of World War 2, like, Dan packed it in, really, didn't he? So we had a pretty decent relationship with Dan, and then
we done Season 1 for Black Ops 4, mate.
EEG? No, we didn't.
Yeah.
I was.
That was Season 1 was my first season.
You did it. You did it then. But I didn't do it. No, I was under contract with ESPU.
Brody?
No, I was under contract with ESPU, so was Brody.
Who the hell did I do then?
Chris?
Brody. No, not Chris.
Wasn't Brody. Definitely wasn't.
Who did I do Season 1 with then, dude? What?
We were under contract with ESPU until February.
I didn't solo.
January.
Cast. You could have been Season 2 then.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
definitely
sure you
Season 2.
1.
That's when we met each other in Season 2, because we were thrown onto the casting desk together.
What was that?
One, though,
Was Season 1 before Malta? Their first Malta event?
no fucking idea. I didn't pay any attention to Malta 1.0.
If can someone like confirm it in the chat, Gadge, please? Can you just go have a look if EG Malta 1.0 is before Season 1 of Black Ops 4? Because I'm pretty sure we did do the Season 1. Because I think it went. Because if you think how it's gone now, it's gone Malta, then Season 1.
We went out of contract until January though. So like November, December, and most of January would have passed, and that would have been Season 1. Season 2 would have been from like February onwards, like it is, or even March.
Okay, it must have been Season 2 then.
Definitely wasn't Season 1. Because I know that Season 2 for EG was the first season I worked for them.
Okay, yeah, okay, Season 2 then. So there's no way that I solo casted Season 1.
I don't know who you did it with. Maybe it was Daniel Assassin. Who knows?
No, I've never casted with him. I've never casted with him.
It must have been like Chris or some other.
No,
person.
he wasn't
no,
in there.
was this when you did it with Kaiser and stuff like that?
Ooh, yeah.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, because I rotated a lot of casters. So Mortal 1.0 was December the 7th to the 9th, 2018. That's when I unofficially casted again. But I'm sure Season 1 must have been after that then. Or before. I can't see it being before because EG don't do seasons before the events.
Well, they might have done by then. I'm not.
But it could have been, talking about it now, because I did rotate a lot of casters. Yeah, I did. Because it was supposed to be, yes, I did do Season 1. Because it was supposed to be Higgsy, who was my co-caster. So I casted with him in Mortal 1.0. He jumped on with me. And he said he said he's interested to come back. And he was like, oh, yeah, I ain't got the time. I was like, why would you tell me you have the time? Then now you're telling me you don't. So then he was like, oh, I'll get someone else. Then he told me to get Kaiser in. And as much as I love the lad, he just doesn't shut up.
No.
And he just shouts.
Terrible
so it was just
broadcast.
draining my ears. So I was like, listen, we need to find an alternative. And then obviously in Season 2, that's when Hughes come in. So yeah. So Season 1, that's what I mean. So then moving out of that, did you mean EG just took no interest in Daniel?
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, they just took no interest in Daniel. Absolutely none. And, or I don't know if he just packed it in before then, or went into orgoning with Nexus or some shit. Got absolutely no idea what happened with him. I can't remember for the life of me. I think me and Brody just demoralized him because he was doing finals with Brody pretty much every single fucking event, all through Infinite Warfare, and then I come along and I'm like, well, Val Season 1, immediately, my first big event, they want me for the final. Val Season 2, they want me for the final. It's like, how much more can I swindle away from this guy? I do feel really bad for him because I just swept onto the scene and just took it all. I was like...
I'm just looking at the stats that he's putting here. So Mortal 1.0 was December the 7th to the 9th, 2018. And then apparently Season 1 was 25th of November 2018.
Who is getting this information? How are they getting it so fast?
of January 2019.
I was definitely still in contract for that Season 1. Definitely. I couldn't cast it.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, so Malta finished. I come home. Well, I spoke to Randy when I was there, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, if you want to cast, hit me up. We can get you in season 1."
You want to
That's
cast?
when I.
Cast
That's
if
when
you
I
want
come.
to.
That's when I come home, and then I got into that, and then that's when I was supposed to do it with Higgsy, but then I got Kaiser in instead to help me out, and then come season 2,
Boffers
that's
will
when
stream.
that's when we formed.
That's when Boffers will stream.
Will we be seeing you both cast Mortal 4.0? There's no current discussion about that for us at the moment, so we can't. Well, we don't know. So,
Probably not.
so where was I? Yeah. So then coming into season 2 to Black Ops 4, that is when we met.
Yes.
How was that for you, George?
Fucking worst experience of my life. Fuck me. Get thrown into casting with this Brummy boy who just can't stop saying the word contestment. Rage.
Contestment.
Yeah, man. No, it wasn't too bad. It was nice to finally have someone else on the team. Reason being is because me and Brody are very similar in the way that we commentate, and I don't really experience this problem all that much. Whenever Brody commentates with me compared to Chris, for example, he feels like he commentates worse. Brody had already got the Belong job in World War II, so he was already working with Chris and found that much more preferential. So over the course of time, he was much happier to be working with Chris. We're still at this point though, because the seasons were getting so busy now. We started to rotate casters depending on who's available. So I started casting with you, I started casting with Chris, Brody started casting with you and Chris, etc. So this is the way it started to form, and this is the way that it is currently for any online leagues that we'll all be doing together as a Beyond Sport lot. The difficulty with that is that obviously there's barely any consistency. If someone's available for a day, someone's not, you don't get an even share of games, etc. And the stream's up and down like a yo-yo because you might have to switch over people broadcasting, etc. And the difficulty with it as well is that at the time Chris and Brody couldn't stream, so it was just me and you. So we would really never get to cast together unless both Chris and Brody weren't available. But nonetheless, we kind of started working together to develop your casting, which eventually has got a lot better actually. I'm very happy with the way that you've improved. But yeah, EEG season 2 was good. Val obviously wasn't around, and then we kind of were half-arsed doing the spring championship for ESPU because they were also quite half-arsed. So we kind of did it. There was a little bit of it. We did the finals, etc. But it around it, raining.
I think that ACL was my first introduction to ESPU.
Yeah, that's what it would have been, and then it would have been the last introduction to ESPU.
Yeah, literally. I think that was the last time I've worked.
First and only.
That was the first time I worked with them. That was the ACL. I even solo casted that as well.
Yeah. Hold on, I'll have a look at that here.
Who's going to be casting that then? I was presuming me and EG.
Oh, EG. Well, I just said probably not for me. That's all.
Yeah, we don't know who's casting it yet. I've got to go. I watched the broadcasting a bit. All right, but cheers for tuning in, of course.
But yeah, so that brings us up to what, season 2, EEG, Black Ops 4, and pretty much all of our income for Black Ops 4 and all of our casting was EEG. At the end of it, I got really sick and tired of working for the same company. I just wanted variance. I still want variance now. I still want to work for Val and EEG and bloody anyone else who'll fucking hire me because at least I get a variation in actually frequency of casting. Because back then I was casting like once every 6 bloody weeks. And then it would be one weekend where I just spaff out on a load of casting. Like, how's that good for my profile as a caster? So I started doing more commentary work for CS. We obviously did Malta 2.0, which was a really good experience. Obviously, besides the delays, like and Robstar crashing bike, all that shit.
Well, that event I wasn't even meant to be there. Remember?
Yeah, I know you weren't. Yeah, I don't think you were.
No, it was 3.0. It was 3.0.
Unless you could fly from East Midlands Airport.
Which I did anyway.
Yeah, which you did anyway.
No, that was a really random change of an effect. That was.
Yeah, it was.
I suppose we can talk about it now because it's 3.0.
let's just rantle on. We can just chundle on. I think pretty much like everyone knows that Black Ops 4 now is pretty obvious history. I've done a number of these shows before. Like I've done the COD Pod. I've done one for ESJ back in the day, so people have got a lot of context on this kind of thing. But we can talk about stuff that was behind the scenes if you.
What was it like getting a breath of fresh air?
What do you mean?
So you went from World War II to obviously just you, Sue, and Dan, and now obviously Dan fell off.
Coming back though.
yeah, Loki cast disappeared. But then obviously coming into Black Ops 4, you didn't do season 1, so that was me. And then into season 2, this is where it formed. Me, you, Chris Brody. I wouldn't say it formed there and then. I think we took a lot of getting used to each other.
It was a long process, the kind of rotational casting. It was difficult for me because I kind of find it much more comfortable when I know exactly how someone operates on a commentary desk. So like casting with Brody is obviously the preferred partner for me a lot of the time. These days it's not so much of a problem, but back then it was. We ended up casting. Well, I still haven't not casted the final of an event that I've done. Every event that I've done, I've casted the final of, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Just because caster in Europe, aren't I? Nah, that's obviously a joke. But obviously. Yeah, I enjoy casting with everyone that we cast with now. Expanding the casting team is obviously always a dangerous and tricky subject, like it was for the last EEG season, because it means that some people don't get a certain amount of games if you don't budget the season correctly for casting budget, etc. Which is always difficult to predict. So fair dinkum to tournament organisers fucking that up, because that can happen. But now Val are back at the helm as well. Like, I feel much more comfortable with the Val guys because that's where I got my start compared to EEG. EEG is like a company that I've worked to rather than worked with, whereas with Val I've worked with them. ESPU, if they were to come back, God only fucking knows what I would want to do to myself. Probably just murder myself instant.
I don't think they're gonna head back.
Davey, mate. Orbit.
I just don't think ESU are gonna come back.
No, I don't want them to. I really do not want them to. Any other tournament organisers that are in the scene though? I think in World War II and stuff, we had VPG like contacting us. In Black Ops 4, VPG actually tried to do something.
If you think how many that have fell off, which we won't talk about because we'll say for a later date, but if you think of how many TOs have actually opened up and fell through, it's astonishing.
I mean, you think about it, EAL at this season pretty much not in for another couple of months now. OCL was one that happened a while back in World War II. ESPU obviously fell off. Unity League, which is something DOM. These are all tournament organisers that just die. And the reason being is tournament organisers are just so fucking hard to keep open. So rough. Like, you have any idea how difficult it is to turn in profit, or you don't want to turn a profit, you want to put all the money back in. So it really comes down to actually having a decent team to keep that motivated, because I know for a fact that people like Val take a year off because they can't be fucked with it for a year. Like, being a tournament organizer is it pretty much is. You get abuse all season, and at the end of the season, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, good season, lads. See you for next one. Thanks for the cash." Like, what the fuck is that? Like, what? You just get abuse all season long. Your format's shit. Your matches are shit. Why are you not getting this casted? Why the fuck is this not fucking streamed? Why is the website not working? Put me in this team. Fucking disputes on leagues and tournaments, etc. Like, what the fuck, man? It must be so draining to be a tournament organizer.
I mean, we've seen the stress alone in Randu and Remark, to be fair, just seeing what they have to deal with as well. Like,
the thing is, as well, when you're in business with each other, it fucking tears you apart from the inside out. Like, that's why half of these leagues just fall apart, because the people who are part owners of them just start to fucking bicker. And a lot of them can't even get off the ground just because they don't have the financing for it.
To answer your question in the chat, this question may be better for the Growing Boys show, but opposite question to the first one: who would be 6 casters you wouldn't take if you can think of that many?
I wouldn't take if I was like being broadcast management talent. I don't want to like burn too many bridges.
To be fair, I think answering the first one might be easier because we can't. That's a bit too much to say.
People who I'd say are like people who probably would get this clipped and sent to.
Yeah. So to answer your first question, we'll skip that one. If you could put together a 6-man casting team, who would be your 6? Who would be your 6 for events? Okay. Should we stay in AM, or will we be branching out to pro?
And barely anyone in AM. If I was doing for all esports, like, this is a fucking easy slam dunk for me. It's Henry G. Sado, Anders Sembler, Monty, and Doa sorted. Like, that's it. 6-man casting team right there.
I'd probably keep mine at amateur level, and because I'm not.
But amateur level, I like to.
Yeah, I'm not as diverse as you to other esports and casting, so I can't really branch out into pro level. I would say us 4, the BTC, 100%. Because our connection and chemistry, even together now, is just so good. People like, I'm pretty sure people have seen the progress of what we've emerged together, and now obviously with BTC. The other two, there aren't really one. I don't think there really is any.
I'd hire Shift
Oh, yeah, shift. I forgot we can go out, bro. I can go
out
across
of
the pond.
EU.
I would take the shift. I like shift.
I'd probably take Sean as well, just because he's a mate. But he's too busy doing OL OS now.
Yeah,
Thinking about that, curious really. I'm thinking across the pond. Like there is obviously Pro Reborn. I actually really do rate him. I think he is
yeah.
quite good. Obviously he's very new, so there's a lot of time to still polish that talent and refine it a lot. But probably Shift and Sean.
Yeah.
But then again, like the thing is with that is you have just a pure abundance of play-by-play commentators there.
Yeah,
Like,
it's no good.
you just to balance that out, you might need someone who
I
can
would
do a bit
take
of
I would
analysis.
take Reborn.
You would take Reborn? Well, he's again a bit of a play-by-play.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he is a little bit more analytical. Maybe it would be good to have Reborn.
That's to answer that question. No, we can't answer the second one because bridges will just get burnt, and that's never a good thing in this industry unless you want to burn your own bridge. We don't feel like doing that.
Not really fancying that one, to be honest.
Yeah,
haven't even got stable income yet.
So with casting now, obviously you're in CS as well, doing stuff for Endpoint, I believe. Was that one hard to find, or was that just a simple message?
Took a little bit of work in, a bit of negotiating, but I'm part of the Endpoint casting team now, which is pretty good. And there's definitely more Counter-Strike for me on the way. I've said this before on a broadcast, so I'll say it again. Val CSGO is looking very likely. However, I can't confirm whether I'm actually doing that or not definitively. But that's looking very likely, and we'll try and partner me up with anyone who's going to be available to do that. But CS is actually way more of a comfortable esport for me to cast, just simply because of how it plays and how slow it is. It gives you more time for the play-by-play moments to be more impactful. If you have a color commentator who can fill the spaces from buy time to pretty much when the round explodes, that's when things are going to be really good. And it suits my casting style a lot more, because in Call of Duty, all you do is just talk, stop talking for a minute, and talk again, talk, and it's fast, rapid all the time. You're never having breaks in the air unless it's an S&D. Can't leave dead air too much in hard points and such. So Call of Duty is very different to Counter-Strike, but I much prefer casting Counter-Strike. It's a way better game as well. Yeah, Counter-Strike's obviously my baby. Katowice is on at the moment, and I'm just watching that in the corner. But I would love to do League of Legends as well. That's way more difficult if I were to try and play-by-play that, considering you have to know all the names of the ults, the abilities. Basically running it off like one of those American auctioneers that's like... It's just unreal.
I suppose my final question for you, to wrap this one up, of course, guys, if you have any last second questions to put in the chat, put them in now. My question for you, what's the end game, the end goal?
The ideal, which is really improbable, considering is the fact that Counter-Strike is a very difficult market to penetrate at the top level, would be to cast a major or like a very large stadium event tournament. That would just complete my life. The obvious objective and the easiest way to get there will be to wait for Project A to come out. That's something that me and you, I know, are both really excited for, and we want to get really deep into. The difficulty with that is that there's also a lot of other casters looking the same way, so or that we're doing differently. But any kind of stadium event cast for an esport that I really care about and that's a really exciting play, I want a moment in my life where I have like a Murray Walker moment where my voice is completely synonymous with a moment that is so impactful or so epic in proportion. Like the Big Apple and Snacks is Hungry, or even like a fucking Gerard moment. Like I just want that. That's the kind of thing that I'm living for.
I like that. Last question to take then from the chat before we wrap this one up. Would you venture into Overwatch? I personally think it's a great game and would suit Buffer's casting style with the wordplay type commentating. And you mentioned earlier you have been playing that quite a lot as well. So
yeah. Overwatch is a tricky one. I think there is a perception of that because of like it works well with wordplay commentary styles, because there are so many commentators in the first two seasons of it who were so good at that wordplay style that it kind of becomes synonymous with the. You had Uber, you have Semler, you have Monty and Doa. like you've got a lot of different people in there who do generically a lot of wordplay, so it does seem to become synonymous. Whilst having said that, though, I would of course love to get into any esport that would happily have me. Anyone who'd employ me within it, a chance to at least grow and perfect my craft within it. So I won't turn down Overwatch by any means. I do have a little bit of hesitancy when it comes to working with franchises, such as the Overwatch League and CL. I feel like contractually things are okay, and that I'm not going to be hard locked into stuff. I do enjoy being a freelancer, but if if the wage is there or something's there that allows me to live comfortably, then why not be employed by a company as a commentator? So yeah, I that's probably the way I'd look at it. It's difficult overall, but yeah, I'd probably do that.
Kind of would suit Gears. Also, he'd love the shit talk that goes on.
Can't even understand Gears. I'm the first kid to
I understand it, but I wouldn't. I don't think I could cast it.
No.
Like, I understand how it runs and understand the game type. I would love to play it, but I'd cast it. I don't know.
Play it.
Nah, because I gotta plug my Xbox in. Ass.
Dead.
I could picture Mez with the wooden spoon. A lot of people can. Don't worry. But guys, I suppose for episode 12, that is going to be as we're nearing the 8 o'clock mark. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Thank you to all the questions as well that we've took in the chat, and to all the unique viewers that we've met today. And of course, Buffers, thank you for taking your time out your busy day
to come today.
To come on and talk a bit about your life, your void, and your casting with us.
Thank you very much for having me. Much appreciated.
Crystal Rip, as I just tuned in. Wow. Go make your new video, Chris.
He's already. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
He said he'd be done by 10.
All right. Pretty boy. Chris, you're
Yeah.
very handsome. Very
handsome for an old man.
All right then. We'll up there then. Go on then.
As Pushing Media just put in the chat, guys, make sure you go follow Buffers on Twitter, and of course scroll down and make sure you go follow Pushing Media, and make sure you follow the stream so you're never left out when we are next live in case you missed the tweets.
Twitter.com/BTC_COD.
Jesus Christ. And there's another plug from Mr. Buffers. But yeah, guys, as we said, thank you to everybody that tuned in, and we'll catch you all next week.